So, new Monkie Kids Season 4 sets have been revealed, and there are some very interesting things about them I want to point out. But first of all, this is the second wave of Season 4 sets, and so these are all of the Season 4 sets that have been released. Surprisingly, only 3 of them have appeared in Season 4, so I'd say the rest of the Season 4 sets should be appearing in the special, except for this one. This is the Dragon of the East Palace, and it is actually a Journey to the West location set, like Flower Fruit Mountain and the Heavenly Realms. These sets depict events and places from Journey to the West that don't necessarily show up in the show. And we can see that, while all the other Season 4 sets have the Season 4 box art on them, showing the scroll, the Dragon of the East Palace set doesn't have this box art on it, so it isn't really supposed to be linked to Season 4. We did see the Dragon of the East Palace in Season 3 though. Now, if you're wondering why there is a giant version of Sun Wukong's staff attached to the palace, that is because this palace is where Sun Wukong got his staff from. On the box art of this set, we also see Sun Wukong and Ao Guang having tea, which did happen in the book. Next is Monkie Kid's Cloud Airship, which we have already seen in Season 4. Then we have May's Guardian Dragon. What I think is super cool is how the dragon's tail is actually May's sword. Anyway, I'm really hoping this set could be indicating that May might finally turn into a dragon. However, I do think it is more likely that it has something to do with Azure, since it is apparently a guardian. And also this other website says it actually is Azure, although it isn't the official LEGO website, so it may not be accurate. I also do want to point out that it is weird that we haven't seen May or any other dragon characters transform into dragons, except Azure in flashbacks. May can form this corporeal dragon form, but she can't actually turn into a dragon. Now, we could chalk this up to her being unexperienced or not being a full dragon, but we also see that the Dragon of the East can't seem to turn into a dragon either. He too only uses an external corporeal dragon form, even when fighting Macaque. So maybe there is something that is blocking all the dragon people from being able to turn into dragons. Anyway, the next set we have is the Mighty Azure Lion. Now, this either indicates that Azure is going to get a mech, or he's just going to grow super big and get a giant powered up form. What is interesting is that the mech is covered in ink. Azure's legs, chest, and arms are dripping with ink. This actually links to how, in the show, in flashbacks when he was a celestial warrior, both his hands were teal/light green-blue. But as soon as he joined the Brotherhood, his arm and legs were black. Now, what has actually happened is that part of his body has been turned to ink. This is much clearer on his minifigure, where we can clearly see his arm is made of ink, with the ink dripping off his chest and back. And I have a whole theory about why his body was turning to ink before he allegedly got trapped in the scroll. But the point is, the fact that part of his body has turned to ink is made very clear on this giant version of him, and both of his arms are black here, which could indicate more of his body is turning to ink. Perhaps he will end up fully turning to ink and become some sort of ink monster. Now, in this set, Azure has this sword, and the giant version of him also has a giant version of the sword. Since the sword is black, I'm thinking it is made of ink. Not only that, but the official description refers to it as both a sword and a pen. So, perhaps Azure can use this ink pen to either change events in the scroll, altering people's memories, or maybe he can use it to bring out beings from the scroll. The thing is, in pretty much all of the Season 4 sets, we see these ink demon guys, and so far they've barely shown up in the show. We saw these figures in Season 4 Episode 1, and it looks like they are the same as the ink demon minifigures, but they only showed up for a couple of seconds, which is not enough to warrant them being in all of these Season 4 sets. Now, the LEGO sets are put into production before the show is finished, so it is common for characters to appear in the sets but end up being cut out of the show. So it is possible these ink demons won't show up in the special. However, maybe they will, and Azure will use his ink pen sword to create them from the scroll, especially since the ink demons all have this face on them, and I believe it is supposed to be Azure's face, particularly as the giant Azure has this same face on him. Now, the ink demons also have this purple-pink symbol on them, which is the same symbol Azure, Peng, and Yellowtusk have on them. In the show, Azure doesn't have this symbol on him in flashbacks, but Peng and Yellowtusk do. I find this quite interesting, but I've already made a video which addresses this in detail, so go check that out if you're interested. Anyway, onto MK's monkey form. So, in the show, this is MK's current monkey form, and then this is MK's monkey form in the set. Now, the main differences are that the minifigure has golden eyes and a nose, but no ears. The official set description says this is MK partway through his transformation, so I'm thinking this means we will see MK go full monkey. However, some people might be thinking that MK's monkey form in Season 4 was the first step, and the minifigure is the second step, which we will see in the special. However, I don't think this is the next step of MK's transformation. I'm actually thinking that the design of the minifigure was intended to be what we saw already in Season 4, but they decided to add ears in the show and get rid of the nose and golden eyes. Because, remember, the LEGO sets are made before the show is finalized, so they sometimes change stuff. And it really wouldn't make sense for MK to go from this in the show to this, since adding golden eyes and a nose is such a minimal change, you know? And again, the minifigure has no ears, which makes me think it was definitely the early concept of what MK was supposed to look like in his partial monkey form this season. Also, I'm really hoping MK doesn't actually end up having golden eyes in the show, because that would not make any sense. The reason Sun Wukong has golden eyes is not because he is a monkey or because he was born from a magical rock. His eyes were not originally golden, and only became golden because he was burned in Lao Shi's furnace. Now, this event happened in the original book, but it was explicitly referenced in the Season 2 special.
Hey, do you know, Monkey King was trapped in here once too?
Yeah, difference is, he was thrown in, and I jumped!
True, but know what he did? He stuck it out. Found a way out. Ended up getting his golden eyes of truth, too.
So, giving MK golden eyes because Sun Wukong has golden eyes would be the same as giving MK a scar across his face if Sun Wukong had a scar across his face. Like, Sun Wukong's eyes being golden is essentially a scar. Also, I know Macaque's eyes are golden and identical to Sun Wukong's, but I have a perfectly good explanation for that. Essentially, in the book, the six-eared macaque actually has golden eyes, exactly the same as Sun Wukong's. Now, it is a common misconception that the six-eared macaque was simply disguised as Sun Wukong. However, in the book, the six-eared macaque is made from Sun Wukong's mind, and is literally the other half of him. It is complicated, and I made this video explaining it using quotes from the book and Chinese academic papers. But this is why, in the book, the six-eared macaque looks like Sun Wukong. So, my guess is that macaque will be made from Sun Wukong in some way in Monkey Kid. Maybe his literal shadow come to life, or maybe he was a clone that went rogue, like MK's clones did. There is a bit more to my theory, which I do explain in depth in this video here. Anyway, something I find weird is that, in these sets for previous seasons, MK has had this face marking. Now, in the show he ends up having a different face marking, and that face marking is on his monkey form minifigure. However, he has the old face marking in one of the new Season 4 sets, and in one of the less recent Season 4 sets. So it is possible he will end up having this face marking when he is in his full monkey form. Or it is just a mistake. This set also has the Pilgrim version of Sun Wukong, which we did see in this older Season 4 set and this Season 4 polybag. Other than super brief flashbacks, we haven't seen this version of Sun Wukong in the show. So for there to be 3 instances of his Pilgrim self as a minifigure, I feel like this indicates we will see him as his Pilgrim self in the Season 4 special, particularly as he is currently stuck in the scroll, so there is a high likelihood that he is stuck reliving his memories. Also, one side of the face is crying, and we can see the circlet is being tightened as there are tiny stress marks on Sun Wukong's forehead. So maybe we'll see more of this in the special. Now, in these sets, we can also see that all the main characters have matching suits. Each suit has some sort of dragon symbol in the middle, with what appears to be a circlet and a crescent symbol. So maybe this symbol is supposed to represent all their powers combined? Or it could be a character we haven't seen yet. Each suit also has its own unique symbols. Mei has dragon symbols, Pigsy has pig symbols, Tang has the monk staff, MK has clouds, and I have no idea what Sandy's is supposed to be. But we do actually know what these suits will look like in the show, because it is on the box art of the new sets. So we can see that the lower halves of the outfits are all the same, and they have blue gems on their feet, and then they each have a gem on their chest, all different colours. Now, the set descriptions describe these as power-up suits, so they must be important. Anyway, thanks for watching. Feel free to check out my other Monkey Kid Theory videos, or my Monkey Kid animations.